All right, now we've got our Gatsby project set up with the plugin to connect it to Strapi. So I'm going to go ahead and CD one more directory up and then open the complete folder for our project in my code editor. And then in this folder, or terminal window, I'm going to change back into the front end folder and go ahead and npm run develop to start the Strapi, or Gatsby server rather, back up. Actually, we don't need to start our Gatsby server back up just yet, but we will need to have it open and ready. So make sure you have a tab or a window open with the front end folder ready to go. All right, but first we need to actually set up the configuration so that our Gatsby project can read the data from Strapi. So in the documentation for the Gatsby source Strapi plugin, so you can search that or go to gatsby.js.com/plugins/gatsby-source-strapi, or you can just copy in what we will end up adding to our code because it's not going to be too long. Okay, so let's actually just go ahead for now. We'll copy this. If you're going to enter it in manually later, we'll remove some stuff in just a second. And let's flip back over to our code editor. And you can see where we had the backend folder previously, but now we have a front end folder. So we've got two pieces of our project stored in one folder. It's all going to be in one convenient place. All right, so let's go ahead and open up in the front end folder, the gatsby-config.js. Here you should see some site metadata and then plugins here at the top, and then the beginning of an array. All right, and the first plugin we should see is the Gatsby plugin React Helmet. And let's go right after the comma for that and before the opening brace for the next plugin. Let's make a new line. Let's go ahead and paste in the code that we copied. Okay, and actually, let me see. Yeah, we don't want the plugins part. We just want actually the braces right there. So I'm gonna undo that and then just paste in that part. And we'll move this over. All right, and that'll work because it'll auto format once I save. So first in this object, we tell it which plugin we are configuring. So we resolve the Gatsby source Strapi plugin because that's what we're configuring. And then we define the options for that plugin. Okay, so our Strapi project and Gatsby project need to be connected. And so we just have to tell Gatsby the URL that our Strapi server is running at, which it currently is http://localhost at port 1337. The query limit defines how many queries are going to be allowed, and it says the default is 100, so we'll set it to 1,000. And then the content types, this is really, really important actually. This is where you need to enter all of the content types that you are going to need in your application, that you're going to need to access in the front end of your application, okay? So one of the things that is a common gotcha that actually got me a few times when I was first working with this is I forgot to add the content types I needed when I created new ones into this content types option in the Gatsby config.js, okay? If you don't do this, you're going to be scratching your head and banging your head against the wall, wondering why you can't access the data that you just created in Strapi. Even if you have the permissions set correctly in Strapi and everything, you have to add that content type to this configuration. Okay, so article is just one of their examples. We don't have an article, but we do have a product. We also have, and I don't think you need to use backticks, but since they did here, we'll just continue to use that. And then a category. And we also have a product variant. All right, and we'll also leave user because we'll want access to our users. Then here, if you're using single types, I believe this is related to the components in Strapi, which we'll probably get into later. It's a little bit of a more advanced use case. And then if you have data that actually needs a user to be logged in to get access to it, such as if you have the permissions set so that only authenticated users can access certain data, then you can actually pass in a login data with an identifier and password to log in as the account to use for your Gatsby queries. Okay, but we're not going to need that. So I'm going to delete that and the comments, and we're not going to need these single types yet. So we'll also get rid of that. So here is our finalized Gatsby options. Go ahead, tab this over, make this look better. All right, so here we go. If you're copying this in by hand, after the Gatsby plugin React Helmet, here is what you need to add, right here. Okay, so resolve Gatsby source Strappy, and then the options, we need an API URL, our query limit, and most importantly, the content types. All right, let's go ahead and save this. And now we can go and in our front end folder, when we run our Gatsby project now, it is going to connect to our Strappy project, and it is going to create all of the GraphQL schemas that we need to access our data and get it ready for us to query in the front end. Okay, so let's go ahead and run npm run develop. All right, now we've got our new Gatsby project up and running. So this time, let's actually copy the graphical URL. Remember the 3 underscores GraphQL. And we're going to go ahead and let's go to that link. And here, this is going to be our graphical user interface for building out our GraphQL queries. It's going to make things really simple and really easy for us to work with. Okay, but it looks like we actually don't have our Strappy data over here yet. So if you open up our terminal, this is our Strappy server, and you can see that there were the 4 requests to get our products, users, variants, and categories, but they all returned a 403. Now, if you remember what I said to do, if we ever encounter our 403 forbidden errors on Strappy, that probably means we forgot to set our permissions. And that's exactly what we did in this case. So this is really common. It's a good thing that we saw this. So let's go over to our Strappy admin dashboard, and on the left, roles and permissions, and then go to public. And we will edit the permissions for our public users. Now we need to scroll down, and for the content types that we've created, let's enable us to count the number of categories, find our number of categories, and find a single category. And let's do that for the product and variant as well. And once you have all those, let's go ahead and save. And once that's saved, we can go over and we need to stop our Gatsby project and run it again. So npm run develop once again, and that'll go ahead, and now that should pull all the data in from Strappy, and it will be ready for us to look at and go through our queries in the browser. So I will go back to the graphical browser. Okay, and there was actually still another problem. Sorry about that. But go back to the Gatsby config.js, and we previously had the user in here as well. But I thought about it and I just checked, and we actually don't want user in here because we don't want our front end to just be able to grab all of our users, right? We'll actually implement a mechanism that doesn't require this here for our authentication and allowing our users to log in and out. So get rid of this. In the content types of Gatsby config.js, make sure you just have product, category, and variant. All right, go ahead and save that, and then run your Gatsby project one more time, npm run develop, and you might see this error here. This says depreciation warning, and that's okay. That's just saying that one of the headers in Gatsby, or this plugin rather, needs to be updated, but that's not going to cause any issues as long as you see all of this. And then most importantly, when you open up graphical, you should now see at the very bottom of this Strappy category, Strappy product, and Strappy variant. And then up here, all Strappy category, all Strappy product, and all Strappy variant. All right, and we'll just take a quick look at this because we'll actually integrate it and start building out our front end in the next section. But I just wanted to show you how we can check this out to build our queries. All right, so if I just open up all Strappy product, you can see it already loads over here, the GraphQL syntax. And now I can go into the edges and then a node. And then this would be our actual Strappy product. So I'm going to grab the name, the Strappy ID. Let's grab created at, and then we could also grab the variance. And then for the variance, let's grab the quantity, the size, the color, and then maybe a link to our image. So images and then a URL. All right, and look at that. Just by clicking on these boxes over here, our GraphQL query is built entirely for us. We can prettify to make sure that that's all looking good. And then we can run the query, and just like that, look at that. We've got all the data back. So here's our I++ hoodie. If we scroll down, the code block hoodie. But then in here, we also have the Strappy ID, when it was created, and then all of our variants. So the quantity, size, color, and the image for that variant, for this one, for all the different variants for all of our products. All right, so we just got the front end and the back end of our application together and integrated. So we can seamlessly work with our data in Strappy and then access it and present it to our users in Gatsby. So I'm really excited to keep building this out and for you guys to keep seeing how this is all going to come together so smoothly. So let's keep going in the next section.